All right, let's rock. We're back with another edition of the Chat It Up podcast. I think this is episode 14 at this point. Happy to have you here on the podcast today, wherever you may be listening, however you may be listening. This is the Chat It Up podcast. Let's introduce the group here today. We've got a new group. It seems like every single week. Always ready to light the fires is the Thick Boy Running Club member himself, Mr. Chase Green, everybody.
Thank you, buddy. Always a great intro guy. I'll tell you what, that's maybe like one of your absolute best radio qualities. Such a great intro, man.
Well, that was kind of short and sweet. I tried to keep it short and sweet on that one. And
that's all you need.
But I appreciate it. I kind of like to model that after Pat McAfee. I give him credit because he is always the master introducer. And that's where I've kind of picked that up from because I do love that show and love that man. Mm-hmm. I saw he had an onside kick by himself against the Houston Texans one time. Pretty impressive.
Bold strategy.
Pretty impressive. Also here with us today, a member of the Feel Good Friday crew, our sixth man off the bench, always ready to step in when needed. It is Mr. Garrett Tolley.
Yeah.
He's fresh from his Knoxville visit. Did you wear the orange up there, the orange polo up there?
I did.
Nice.
When in Rome.
Smart.
Once you're going up there, you always got to find some nice little orange. What is this, Chase? Creamsicle?
Yeah, or traffic cone, or however you want to look at it.
Yeah, so I did. It was a good trip. So
nice.
Came right back down here and now hang with you guys.
An hour and 20 up, 25 there, an hour and 20 back.
Yep.
Nice.
It's a good time.
Love it. All right, our guest for today on the podcast, he is a former UTC linebacker. He's also originally from East Ridge. He's a local boy. Played a lot of games at UTC at that middle linebacker spot. Joining us now is the big man himself, Mr. Gunner Miller. What's up, Gunner?
What's up? Love the intro, by the way.
Thank you.
Great Pat McAfee deal.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
It's good to be a guest and be able to ask, answer some questions instead of asking all the questions. So.
Yeah, you also do a show, which I, as a terrible host that I am, neglected to actually write down in my prep work for you, but you do the CWG podcast, Chat with Gunner podcast. Before we get,
with two T's,
yeah, just perfect,
right?
Perfect. That's why we like to have him on the show. He's a man after our own heart with the two T's.
That's right.
You've been doing this a very long time, since January 2020. You're 134 episodes in at this point. Tell us a little bit about how that got started, what it's kind of evolved into, what it was supposed to be, and everything like that.
Yeah, great question. So I've always been a podcast fan, big Joe Rogan fan.
Mm-hmm.
So that's kind of what it was modeled after. Also a big Brennan Shaw, Brian Callen fan, Fighter and the Kid.
Yes, sir.
Is that
Chase is a big podcast guy.
Yeah.
Okay, so a big fan of theirs as well. So these guys came to me. The studio was Terminal 57 at the time, I believe, over in Fordo. But they came to me and they said, "Hey, man, do you want to do a wrestling podcast?" And this was 2019. I blew my knee out, and I'd kind of been wrestling every Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. We can get to that, but
we certainly will.
I blew my knee out,
will.
and I was in a downtime. For the first time in my life, no football, no sports, no nothing, no rest. Like I was here on the weekends. I was here every weeknight. It was weird. Since I was 4, I've always been busy. Like vacations were summer ball.
Yeah.
So they asked me to do this podcast, and I was like, "Yeah, I'm bored. I'll go do this podcast." So I go over there and do it, and I'm terrible at it. And it's called the 60-Minute Broadway, and it's me and this guy named Sting Weber, and he's hosting it, and I'm the color guy, giving like behind the scenes of wrestling.
Yeah.
And we do, about a year's worth. We go live every Thursday on Facebook. That was all we did it on. And, the first time we did it was a couple hundred views, and we were getting to where we were getting like 15, 16,000 views on Facebook, but I didn't think it was real views. Does that make sense? Like it's not YouTube views, it's Facebook views. And that was in 2019. So that wasn't like Facebook was going crazy with the video views at that time. Gary Vee wasn't like hitting the Facebook horn. So we did that, and we did it for a year, and then he kind of stopped doing it. And then I did one show by myself, and I was like, well, I'm just going to do this, but I'm not going to do just wrestling. Like I want to do more things. So what could we name my podcast? Talk with Gunner, chat with Gunner. Chat with Gunner. CHATT. Use the Chattanooga logo. Take out the Nooga with Gunner. Use that branding. Nice. And the idea of the podcast was to have someone from Chattanooga on the show after my first one every episode. Every Thursday, 6 to 8 p.m. at night. We'll post it out that night. That was the plan, right? So I started this in January of 2020.
That's a long time to do a podcast.
Yeah.
2 hours.
Yeah.
Every Thursday.
Not necessarily 2 hours. But
Okay.
I'm saying like that block of time.
Oh,
Like,
okay. I
we
got
get
you.
somebody
In
in the
between
studio
there.
during that
Yeah.
time.
I
right?
got you. I thought you were like
Pictures.
blocked off. Like, I'm going to be
Oh,
talking
no.
for 2 hours.
Live, true
no.
live
Holy
show.
shit.
No, man. No. So we did this, and I had a producer. So at this studio, they let me do this for free
Nice.
because I help them out with some things. And so I've got their producer, and he pretty much works for me every Thursday. His name's Ethan, does a great job. So we're doing this thing. My first episode is my addiction to Adderall. We can jump into that too. But I had I wouldn't call it an addiction. I called it an addiction, but it's not like I was like, I'll do anything to get some Adderall from you. It wasn't that.
I don't know why you're asking me.
Yeah, you got blonde hair. You sitting beside me. Anyways, so but
Got two blondies sort of
oh,
next
that's true.
to
That's
Yeah.
true.
you.
Sam,
You're like a light blonde. You're like
Yeah.
a light
Yeah,
brown.
it's more of a sandy blonde.
Yeah.
like a
sandy
thick blonde.
blonde.
Like,
Yeah,
yeah.
All right. Okay. So yeah, man. But and we started going with that and the Adderall addiction, and then we started doing the guest. Right. Started knocking out the guest. We probably got to episode 2 months, 8, 9, 10, something like that. We had a guest every
Yeah.
time COVID hits. So
Mm.
now everybody's kind of, are we supposed to come to this show? Should we not do it? Blah, blah. So then we just did the solo shows for probably, 15, 20 shows. And that was ridiculous. And then we started doing like studio shows with everybody there. And we
Were
started-
you? Let me intervene and
Yeah.
just ask a quick question. When you were doing those individual shows, did you find it difficult where you're kind of struggling to figure something out to
Yes.
talk about? Yeah.
Yeah. So what I'd do is I'd go on rants.
Yeah.
And I would just go on like wrestling rants, and then I'd just kind of pick something to rant about. That was
Okay.
kind of my thing, right?
Mhm.
I'd try to cut a wrestling promo because I was comfortable doing that, and there was no crowd, so I just do it to the camera. Wouldn't care. So we started doing that, and they started working. And then we started doing like in studio shows with everybody that works there, doing conspiracy theories, like what's happening with the world going on right now in the
Yeah.
world, that type of stuff. Then that just got boring. I got tired talking about politics, about Trump, Biden, all these different, everybody hating each other. I just got tired of
all
everything.
that.
Yeah. And then we actually had a couple episodes get taken down because of like what we were talking about. Like it was like, okay, you're even
Damn.
looking at us. Like, come on. now.
Yeah.
Like,
Did someone
ridiculous.
report you?
Yeah, like we were reported, we're taken down, community guidelines, several episodes.
Wow.
And we probably
What a
had
narc.
at this time, we've had this time, a couple hundred followers, subscribers, and I was like, all right, it's time to make a push. We're gonna make a push to get to 1,000 subscribers and so many hours watched so that we can get our monetization, whatever.
Yeah.
It's $1, not $1, whatever it is.
Yeah. Something.
So we started doing virtual Zooms with people, more higher level, like authors that are kind of like, not your high level, like if you were a C-list person, right? That's kind of who we're going after to get their connections, to get the B, to get the A's. And then it kind of transferred into fight talk. When betting became legal, I got into betting pretty good. Like
There you
doing
go.
fight talk,
Naturally.
UFC,
Yeah.
boxing. I love combat sports. Like I don't watch regular sports now because I played football, baseball my whole life. It's just not fun to me. So now I just watch combat sports because that's something I never did,
Yeah.
and it's something to be a fan of, and I enjoy it. So we'd talk about that, and then all the local fighters in town that didn't get public press from Chattanooga, I'd have all them on my show to tell their story. Coaches in town tell their stories. Promoters in town tell their stories. So we've got MMA, boxers, all the promoters, people from Canton, Georgia, all from Knoxville to Nashville, all the way to Chattanooga coming on the show, just talk about fighting. And next week, I should have Jake Paul's sparring partner that's going to be helping him out going into the August 6th fight, doing a Zoom from Puerto Rico
Nice.
because his brother played ball with me at UTC.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Wow.
So
Oh,
that,
look at those connections.
yeah,
Yeah.
so that's the go. I saw him post a thing, and he goes,
Yeah.
in Puerto Rico getting work with Jake, and he's like standing there with Jake, and I was like, Chris, I need to know.
The hell?
I need to know what your brother's. Can your brother beat his ass? I need to know.
Yeah.
that. And he's like, he didn't say anything. I was like, okay, I'm just gonna go to the source. I was like,
Yeah.
hey man, podcast next week. You down? He was like, yep, I'm down. So
Sweet.
we'll do
That'd be
that.
awesome.
That's cool.
We'll get some Jake Paul news, break some
Mhm.
fight camp news. But yeah, man, that's where the podcast came from, and now it's kind of went logistics, sales, business development, and then still pop culture, sports, stuff like that.
Okay.
Whenever we have guests, I'm not pigeonholed in anything. Like kind of like you guys. I'm
Yeah.
assuming you guys talk about whatever to whoever,
Mhm.
as long as they get up here and talk. right?
Exactly. I mean, we try to keep it sort of sports centric,
Okay.
with our guests and things like that.
Yeah.
But we've talked about having business owners on and things like that, local business owners, and maybe we're trying to get the mayor on at some point
Okay.
here
All
of
the fun
Chattanooga.
stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're trying to do all the fun stuff. Like I say, I described it to you as my show, and when we do the show on Fridays with these guys, it's sports talk with a side of guy talk. On here, it's mostly guy talk with the side of sports talk.
Yeah. I mean,
We like to bring up sports and things with our guests because I feel like,
It's relatable.
yeah,
relatable.
It's mostly relatable. I mean, everybody played something, especially
Sure.
around in the South.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
mhm.
Yeah, and everybody that comes on, it's like business owners too. They usually have some type of sports background. So
Yeah.
that's the first way to connect with somebody. And
Exactly.
That's an easy way to do
Especially
it.
in the logistics world.
Especially in logistics. Yep.
Everybody's got to be competitive.
Yeah, I wish
That's
Miggy
right.
was here to talk about the logistics
Oh,
portion of it. Well, you were in logistics, so you
Yeah.
know.
Yeah, I know. I've been around that world for a long time.
Yeah.
So
It's fun.
yeah, it
It's
has
fun.
its perks. But
It does.
Miggy's getting his schooling paid for by logistics right now. So that's
There you
where
go.
he is.
Mhm.
There you go.
He's a Vandy boy now.
Well, hey, you can't beat that.
No, certainly can't. Now, where can people find the podcast and the live show and things like that?
Yeah, so the podcast is on YouTube, CWG Podcast. We made it CWG Podcast because it's easier to search.
Mm.
If you type in CWG, you will not find it. If you type in Chat with Gunner, you will not find it because most people type in CHAT with Gunner. That's what I've learned. You guys probably have the same problem with this show. So it's CWG Podcast, and it's an easy way to find it. So we've got, about, I think, a little over 2,000 subscribers. We got monetized earlier this year. Not that we're making all kinds of money, but we did get like $18 is in there so far. So we got to get so much where we get our first check or whatever. But hey, man, I think that's pretty cool.
That's
Monetization,
is pretty cool.
it doesn't matter.
It's good to make money in some sort of fashion.
Yeah.
Doing something you enjoy.
It's fun.
No matter
you
what
know?
it is.
Yeah. It's like, then you think, okay, so we put this much effort into it, which is minimal, and we make $18. What happens if we went all into this? You go after sponsorships and you do all these different things. You treat it like a business, and maybe it could grow.
Mm-hmm.
It's just not being treated like that right now. It's because it's not, right?
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
that's the idea. That's what all these guys are doing. The comedian circle, that's what they do. They all just kind of piggyback off each other, and they've got their own brands, and that's their day job, and then they go do comedy.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly. That's it. And that's just their community.
Yeah.
That's what's made them so big. Like they have taken comedy to a new level as far as money making goes because of podcasts.
Exactly.
And they're fucking hilarious.
They're good. Yeah,
they're
great.
so good. Like they're just naturally funny people. Like
And that's where you find your new comedians. Like the guys get on
Yeah.
there and they make the comedians laugh, and they're like, "You got to figure something out and put 5 minutes together and get on stage with me because you're funny and I like to hang out with you and you're cool." That's all it is. It's all Joe's friends. Like all Joe's friends just became comedians.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. And then all of them became podcasters, and now they have big podcasts. And they've always taken a little snippet from Joe. Like they'll have different people on. It's always fun. And these other guys are just so funny. Like there's better. I always think of Schaub's a way better podcaster than he is comedian personally,
We
but
can talk about that.
okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Cause he's one of those guys. He's such a good businessman. And he's also another one that's created like this whole realm of comedians around him that have these different podcasts that guys you would have never thought turn into, they have just weird niche podcasts they just take from. And you're like, oh, okay, this guy's going to work for that. He's going to do this for me. And now these media empires, if you really want to call them that, because they make so much money.
Yep.
And it's all because these comedians start doing podcasts, and they're just way funnier in person than most of your average people.
Yeah.
That's it.
So Andrew Schultz just crushed it. I haven't watched it. I got to watch it, but
He's
he
hilarious.
just crushed it. Like he's
So
so
funny.
smart.
So smart.
He's what Brandon Schaub wants to be. I know he is. Like, I think Brandon Schaub is great on the business aspect of it. I think he's funny. I think he gets a bad rap.
I just never thought it was that funny. It's all right. It's okay.
I look at him as like he's a meathead football player that's probably had one too many concussions and he tried fighting.
He sure is.
Like if he would play more into him getting knocked out and kind of like almost make it to the top of the UFC and start clowning himself on that and clowning himself on not making it in pro football and tell those stories, that'd make the people laugh at him and with him at the same time. I think that'd be a little bit better. Maybe that's what he's doing. He's only doing it for a few years.
I know. But Schultze's another one, man. You talk about somebody that just took advantage of COVID. My word. That dude went from like making a decent living, I'm sure. He was doing fine.
Yeah.
To multi-millionaire in this beautiful studio.
Well, you got to think. So his comedy special, did you hear about that?
I'm not watching.
I've seen comedy specials of him on Netflix, or like he had a show.
Well, that's where he started.
He had a show. That's the only one I've
during
seen so
COVID.
far.
I
think his stand-up's funnier than the Netflix.
So his stand-up was going to Netflix, pretty sure. And they came to him and said, "Hey, we got to cut some things out because those jokes aren't with the times right now." Because I guess when he cut it, and he goes, "Okay, great. Well, just give it back to me, and I'm going to pay-per-view it." So he did that. He's the first comedian to take it back, put it on andrewschultz.com, and did a live stream for $15.
Okay, because I saw that he had the promo because I was watching one. Yeah, I guess just yesterday.
His jokes are really smart. If you do not give credit to, whether or not you want to call it, insensitive, they're very clever and they're not safe. And that's what comedy is. It's the most protected speech in the American legislative, First Amendment. So the fact that he had the balls to really just go and say, hey, you know what? I'm going to just run and bet on myself and do that. I didn't know that he did that and ran, but that's cool to me. And I think he's really smart and really funny.
It's going to change the game. So, I mean, what if Joe does that? What if Joe goes, all right, Netflix not working for me? Everybody that wants to watch this, pay $20. All 300 billion of you that watch me every week.
Yeah. Because these guys have that kind of clout now where they can just go and do whatever they want because we'd probably all pay for it. I'm probably going to buy Schultz's thing like this
probably
weekend.
Going to too, yeah.
Like I'm going to get a little bored one night and be like, you know what? I'd kind of like to watch this. We're in the lull of sports times.
Yeah.
Don't always love baseball like, late July, especially post All-Star break. Guys are just like coming back. It's like, dude.
Yeah.
Just got back from vacay.
They're going to take 2 months off. Then get going.
It's hot as balls out here. Like this is brutal. So this is the perfect time to like do that kind of stuff. And I'll probably watch it. I can't even imagine what Joe Rogan, like even Segura could do that.
Oh yeah.
Those guys.
Him and Bert, they both crush.
Yeah. What a weird sign of times.
Oh, I'm back in the conversation.
Come on.
Yeah, come on.
I know. No,
you're not a comedian guy. Huh?
No, I am, but I've never watched Andrew Schultz.
He's a New Yorker, bro. Like he's actually like just give him a little Instagram look and just watch some of his stuff.
I'm sure he's hilarious. I like comedians and things like that, but I'm so busy with other things and like watching live sports because I'm so into that live sports world. Like you're talking about baseball in late July, I love it.
Yeah,
I'll eat it up, you know, all the time. So that's kind of what I pick and choose to watch and pay attention to. But let's get back into to Gunnar Miller here, and let's talk a little bit about your upbringing. You grew up in East Ridge in Chattanooga.
Yeah.
Okay, so tell us a little bit about, because I'm from Connecticut.
Okay.
You're from
Dallas.
Texas.
Yeah.
You're from here.
Yep.
Tell us a little bit about what it was like growing up in East Ridge and how you got into sports and whatnot.
Yeah, different than what it is now. So, born in 1991, man, my sister, she was 17 years older than me. My parents were a little bit older than they had me. They were in their late 30s. I'd like to call myself maybe an accident. Probably could have been
a happy
Jack
accident.
Daniels, maybe something like that. For sure. But, Gunnar was the name, and I think the name worked out. That could have went one or two ways, and I'm glad it went the way it did. But, yeah, man, grew up. I was always at the ballpark. Like I said, I was, announced at a volleyball game in high school, and I was at the ballpark every game for the rest of my life. Like the 4 or 5 years my sister was in college, I was at the ballpark playing with my toys, getting on everybody's nerves. Like they just let me in the dugout with them. Like I was team mascot pretty much. And then I went straight into ball after that. Like I started playing when I was 4, and then I was baseball 4, 5, and 6. Started playing football when I was 6. Started playing basketball when I was 8, and then that was the route. I played all 3 of those going through middle school at East Ridge. It was cool. My 8th grade year, I was MVP of baseball, basketball, and football in our area, so that was cool.
Athlete.
But then I retired on basketball on top because I knew that I was just taller than everybody for a moment.
Yeah,
and everybody's gonna catch me because I was already like 6 foot at that time. I never grew after that. I'm supposed to be like 6'3". Doctors suck.
You grew this way instead of tall.
Yeah, I needed that height though.
Yeah,
man. Then went into high school and played for Coach James for 3 years and Coach Martin for 1 year. That's always a tough change there towards the end. Change your coach senior year, but it worked out, and started every single game as a linebacker. And then my sophomore year started every single game on offensive end, defensive side of the ball.
Yeah, I saw you played a shit ton of positions. I mean, you played fullback, tailback, quarterback, split end on offense, also linebacker and free safety as well.
Yeah, so East Ridge 3A. I don't know the last person to sign a scholarship prior to me. I believe it might have been in the early 2000s. I graduated in 09, but it might have been like a Tennessee Tech and they didn't make it. Like it didn't pan out. Probably before then, it might have been like late 80s. And it'd been like Rodney Ballard going to UT, and he didn't pan out either. But he was one of the top running backs to ever come out of this area. So, people just didn't go to college from East Ridge for sports.
Yeah.
Or not football, at least. Maybe baseball, maybe volleyball or something like that, but not football. So my whole plan was to go to football Division I from East Ridge. That was my goal. I was much better at baseball. Could have went easier. Could have had a much easier route.
Did you have offers baseball wise?
So I pretty much shut down everything from baseball going into my junior year and focused completely on football.
Gotcha.
But yeah, I mean, I spent my whole summers. I played for the Chattanooga Baseball Club. It was pretty much all the best players from Macaulay, Baylor, and then me. Maybe sprinkled in a couple more players from Red Bank, Ottawa, something like that. But that's kind of how it was. I was a catcher, caught every single game. I just like those hard-nosed positions. It's kind of the whole mindset my parents, put into me. And I say my parents, like my dad. My mom was always the one that was going to take up for me and, get dad off my back if he was being a little bit too rough. But I was the type of kid also. And I'm having a problem right now because I have a 6-year-old, but I'm having a problem right now trying to figure out how to get that like mindset into kids, or is it just born? So like the mindset of like, I always wanted to practice. I always wanted to like try a little bit harder to impress my dad.
Yeah.
And then it just kind of showed out on the field because I was always trying to impress him so much and he was so hard to impress, or it seemed like it at the time, which now looking back, it wasn't. But
you don't want to let your parents down.
Yeah.
That's the biggest thing. You don't want to disappoint them.
And dude, I wanted my mom to be able to cheer, and I wanted my dad to be happy because he was coaching me in every sport I ever did. So that I always had a tough work ethic since I was young, and I never thought I was the best. I was always told I wasn't the best, and that was by him. He'd always tell me, you're not the best. Like, you've got to keep working if you want to. You're getting better, but you're not the best. But then I would be on these teams, and I'd be leading us in home runs, leading us batting average. Like, I'm getting the looks. If I go on the football field, like I'm leading us in touchdowns, like tackles. I'm like,
Dad, how am I not the best?
And then the first time I realized that other people were noticing was after my sophomore year. I was ranked in the top 50 recruits in the state of Tennessee, and it was in a magazine that came out. And that was the first time I ever got any publicity outside of Chattanooga. And I was like, that's interesting. Well, we're going to play football. Like, that was immediately the mindset. That was the first college type thing that came through. It was football. I was like, oh, we're going to do football. And I think that it was like a Syracuse letter or something that started coming in the mail. Then you get like, your Florida States come to this, and your Tennessees and come to this, and come to this unofficial visit. And then you start understanding, like, I need to go to a recruiting seminar to figure out like what's an unofficial visit, because we had the internet, but this is 2007.
Yeah.
Like, it was much different back then. Like, MySpace was cool.
Yep.
So
you top 8,
baby.
Yeah. Like, we were worried about that and figuring out our template of our background and what music we're going to play.
Yeah. What was your song? Do you remember?
Dude, I have no clue. Probably Vanilla Ice.
There you go.
But if you were changing it up every single week, where you really get a cool page, you got to give them something new. I used to have like Hot Girl of the Week on mine, and I would switch it out every single week just to kind of like, I don't know. This is MySpace. Garrett.
Well, if you went to somebody's page and they always had the same music on there, or the same top 8, you knew they just weren't updating their stuff. And they weren't paying attention to it.
Lazy.
You gotta keep it rotating.
Laziness.
Yeah.
But so did all that, and where was I at going into?
You talk about recruiting seminars,
trying to figure out like how does recruiting work. It's like you go to rivals camps, scouts camps, because that was the 2 camps back then. So there was a camp down in Georgia. I went to it. I got measured in 5'11" 3/4. I was like, you kidding me? Gosh, so that's barefoot too, and like pressing my head down. I was like, come on, guys.
Yeah. Can I get 6 foot?
Yeah, just give me 6 foot.
Come on, man.
It just looks much better on the thing. So I think they had me like 5'11" 3/4, and my weight at the time was probably like 189. I think that was pretty much what my rivals. I think you probably look at it right now, and that's what it says. That was my rivals profile. But they did an article on me, and I think it said I was getting recruited at the time by Vanderbilt, Western Kentucky, a couple other schools. But the one school that never talked to me was Chattanooga. And Rodney Allison was here as the coach, and they weren't very good. And I was like, why would Chattanooga not talk to me? Like, that, it seems like a shoe-in. Like, I can play there.
Do you want your rivals profile?
Yeah, bring it up. What you got?
Outside linebacker, 5'11", not even 5'11" 3/4, not 6 foot, 5'11", 189. Yep,
close.
Nailed it.
Yeah.
Oh, you didn't say what? I thought you said 189.
I did.
You did.
Oh, yeah.
But the 3/4 I was.
Yes, the 3/4.
Yeah. So did that. That was like a top, I don't know, 300 camp or whatever they'd have in the Southeast back in that time. You do like a Spark rating. I ran across Tim Tebow in a Spark magazine. First time I ever seen Tim Tebow.
That was the Nike thing.
Yeah.
I did that at a training facility one time, the Spark competition. It was like the morning after prom.
Yeah.
Come on.
Did terrible.
There you go.
I really didn't want to go, but my dad was like, no, you should still go and compete and try it. And it was just miserable.
I couldn't remember what that. I remembered that. I was like, what is that? That Spark Camp. It was the Nike thing.
Yeah. And I'm pretty sure it was speed, power, agility, reaction, and quickness.
Yeah.
So that was the Spark, right? So Tim Tebow had the highest Spark at that time. And he was coming out of Nice. And so when I was a freshman, he was a senior. That's when I saw the magazine. And that's kind of, I was like, oh, I'm going after him. So my goal by the time I was a senior was to beat all of his Spark ratings. That was kind of just, whether it was at a camp or whether it was at East Ridge, I was going to do it. I think the only thing that got me in was a 40, but at that time. But anyways, so we did that, and that was kind of my work ethic there. we weren't good at football. So like we didn't go to the playoffs and have deep runs. So maybe that kind of hurt a little bit with the recruiting process because you just don't get visibility to the other coaches, and nobody was coming to watch Eastridge play because you'd been watching one player, and
that was you,
right? And I hate to be like, now since then, you've had players like JoJo go to Wofford. Now he's playing. He just won a championship with the USFL with Birmingham.
Nice.
There's several players out there kind of from Eastridge kind of carrying that torch, but there for a while I was kind of the reboot.
Yeah.
And that's cool too. Take a little honor in that to kind of get everything going.
Absolutely,
but,
as you should. Yeah, that's a big deal.
Yeah, but then finally, my senior year, I was starting to get worried because I was like, well, I'm gonna sign a Division I scholarship. The only problem is nobody's offering me. Like I've had two not unofficial offers, but I've had two preferred walk-on spots, Vanderbilt and Western Kentucky. I probably could have walked on to Tennessee, but it wasn't a preferred walk-on.
Yeah.
And the Vanderbilt, West Kentucky, it was my height and pretty much just like I think the stature of school that I came from, like my lineage. Which I get that. That's cool. And then Coach Huseman came to UTC that December. They won a national championship in 2008 with Richmond. He came to UTC in December. It was between like him, the Ball that was at Georgia, which was the running back coach, and there was like one more that was kind of up in the air. But Huseman came, and Coach Cardwell was the recruiter for the Chattanooga area. And Huseman's first message was, we got to recruit Chattanooga kids. We're not taking no more JUCO kids, no more kids from the West Coast. We're going to find kids right here in Chattanooga, and we're going to fill the stands as much as we possibly can. So he started looking around at like players in Chattanooga that had kind of, I guess, a little bit of higher profile as far as like who's the player in Chattanooga that nobody's got yet.
Yeah.
So they called and offered me.
There you go.
I got offered. Cool. I got a half scholarship because it was the last thing they had. I was the last person to get offered from that signing class. I got a half scholarship to UTC to play football. I signed as an ATH. Only person on the team signed as ATH.
Had a baby athlete.
There we go.
Fullback and linebacker.
Nice.
So yeah, the white boy signed as ATH. It was awesome.
Yep.
They're like, are we sure that's the right picture?
Yeah. It was awesome. And then man. So then I graduated on like May 9th, and I showed up to summer workouts on May 10th, and I was the only freshman there, and there was 11 guys there. And I was confused. I was like, okay, why is there only 11 people here? And then I found out that they just didn't do anything in the summers. They didn't work out.
Really?
They didn't throw. They just reported back when they had to the last 2 weeks of summer to do their conditioning and then go into camp. That they didn't care because everybody was from everywhere.
Yeah.
Like nobody was. It wasn't like Southeast based recruiting. So Huseman's idea was to go Southeast based recruiting, and it's voluntarily mandatory and it's based on the players. He would elect captains, and it's your job to keep these people here for the summer. So the first year there, we had 11 people, and I got all the respect from the other 10 guys that were there, and that was pretty much the 10 leaders of the team, which helps. So
yeah, that is big.
Now when I go into fall camp, I'm known, and all the other freshmen are just freshmen. You don't know if they're a scholarship guy or a walk-on guy. They're just a freshman. But I'm not.
You spent however long
I was with them for
these
almost 3
guys.
months.
Yeah,
doing our conditioning test and like busting ass at it. Like I was doing really well. Like, I mean, that was my thing. I was a work ethic guy. So like I was like, I'm going to be the number one guy here. Like,
athlete.
Here was always my message. And if I could tell anybody that's in sports or in doing anything, it's not about being the fastest guy in the first sprint. It's being the fastest guy in the last sprint and running the same speed the entire time. If you can do that, then you can show a little bit of grit and heart. And that's where your leaders are going to come from, like your weight room captains. And so I did that. And I was like, if I want to play here, I've got to turn into the weight room guy. And we went into camp, and I actually had a really good camp. I kept getting noticed by Coach Huseman. He kept talking about knee bend and like all this stuff. And I was like, I don't know what that means. I just played football. And
what did it mean?
Just being in a good stance, like the ability to bend your knees, be low pad level. And I guess I was 5'11" 3/4, so I could get lower than everybody. So that was a good thing.
Or just 5'11".
Yeah, or just 5'11". Yeah, show me up. But so I had a good camp, and they came to me after camp and said, "Hey, we're going to redshirt you, but if anybody goes down in the linebacking core, we're going to go with you." So, and I was like, "Oh, wow, that's cool." So, I just worked out that year. Furman game came. We had 2 linebackers go down with a sickness and one go down with an injury, and one we didn't know if we was going to play. All right, so now
you're getting ready. You're like, all right, this is my time to shine.
Thursday,
Gunner was in his dorm with a voodoo doll, just like, all right, I'm going to knock this guy out. I'm going to go with this guy out.
I got the call on Thursday. So and listen, Eastridge didn't prepare me, and this I'm not bashing Eastridge. Like, it's just like they don't have the resources. I wasn't prepared to go to college football. I didn't have the defensive IQ that players that were coming out of Baylor or Macaulay or these 6A schools in Georgia had. Like they have former players coaching them. I didn't
and highly paid coaches as we talked about.
Right. I've got teachers coaching me that have a passion for football, but at the end of the day, it's put your hand in the dirt and be the lower man. Use the top of your head, like that type of stuff.
Just very basic information.
My defensive strategy in high school was if the other linebackers lined up 3-5 yards off the ball, I was going to play between the linebackers and the safeties, and I was going to go make every tackle. And I led the city in tackles my last 3 years. So I didn't care about really what I was doing. I just wanted to make as many tackles as possible to get my name out there.
Yeah.
I was selfish, but I knew we weren't going to win, so who cared?
Yeah, exactly.
So we did that, and the first year kind of went through. Furman game came up, a bunch of linebackers hurt, linebackers out. I get the call on a Thursday. We play on a Saturday. I get the call on a Thursday. Hey, man, you're dressing. Great. So they give me my travel gear. So they give my travel gear to get on the bus and to dress for the game. And it's like the only size they have left, and it's like a XXX. And I'm a guy that I like to wear things that like form fit, and like I want to.
I would have never guessed.
I want to look.
I don't know why
out there in my my first time walking the mock walk. I want to look good doing the thing, right?
Yeah.
And so that happens, and I look like a bum. And I'm like, this is ridiculous. And then I'm wearing number 36. I've got a thing for the number 11, but I was wearing 36. That's what I had at the time. I was like, this is stupid.
Just given to you.
Yeah. So I didn't have to go into the game. Thank God. That was great. I didn't burn my red shirt.
I was going to say, because that was a different time. Now you can play in up to 4 games and still keep your red shirt.
Yes. Back then.
Then you play 1 game, boom, you're done.
You come in for a quarter, you're done.
Yeah.
Oh, that's what I was going to ask. I was like, what was the regulations on that?
That actually changed as I was playing. It went to like you'd have a 2 quarters or something.
Gotcha.
Just in case for injuries or whatever. But because people were blowing their red shirts over a play, stuff like that. Because coaches would forget and just throw somebody in there.
Yeah, and it's just like it hurts the kids.
Yeah. I mean, it ruins the whole year.
Mm-hmm.
So, and then I was like, okay, I can do this, I think. And I just busted my ass going into the next year. And I was on special teams in the first game. We played App State. We had 18,000 people there in Chattanooga. We did a whiteout, and we were beating App State, I don't know, like 20 points going into halftime, and then got beat like 48 to, I don't know, like 42 to 40 or something. Like it was something stupid. But I played special teams in that. No defense. And then, so that was cool. So my first ever kickoff, I'm the gunner. It's funny.
No,
I'm the gunner going down. And
nope. Wait, I have it. Nope.
So
find it.
Nope. There it is.
We go. So on kickoff, I was the gunner, and there we go. And so I go down, and I see this guy. He's got the ball. He's coming right at me. He doesn't even see me, and I'm like, "Oh, this is my literally first play.
Blow this.
I'm about to be all over
this guy
whatever
up.
SoCon comes on Fox Sports South." So I just leave my feet like 5 yards from him. I'm like, close my eyes, like turn my head like I would in high school, and then I just hit the ground. I'm like, what happened? And then dude's all the way down. I was like, oh, it's a change of pace. Like this is not practice. This is not a scrimmage. Like I've kind of gotten that close. This is not like, touching hips and walkthroughs.
Mm-hmm.
I've got to get a little bit closer before I explode into people. So that was when I realized that. And then, so the next
learning moment.
Yeah. The next game, I pretty much played special teams as well. The next game was Eastern Kentucky. And I started getting in like a nickel package because they did a lot of, I guess it was like 11 personnel, 10 personnel. So we got into some nickel packages, and I got to play a little bit, made a couple of tackles, probably played like 15, 20 plays. Well, the next game, JD Dothard, I love JD, but JD Dothard messed up his ankle, and he was playing will linebacker. And I remember getting the call, and he's like, hey, you're probably going to play this week. Get you ready, get you moving around out there, and we'll see how it goes. I was like, all right, cool. So I have a good week of practice. I'm like, oh, this is cool. They pretty much give you the plays. Like we didn't have this in high school. They show you exactly what these guys are going to run because they have so much film on them.
Yeah.
And that's all their job, right? It's awesome. I didn't know that you did that.
Yeah.
And I was like, so if they do this, I do that, and that happens. And they're like, yeah. And I was like,
this is easy.
That's what college football is. Everybody knows it. Everybody's plays. You just got to be smart enough to remember what the lineup is, and like just kind of have some keys. They're like, yeah. I was like,
just make the plays when they're there.
I was like, oh, this is much better than just lining up 7 yards off the ball and trying to tackle everybody. That's tiring. So we go into the game. I'm starting. First game ever starting. I remember this is the only game I remember my stats, but I had 9 tackles. I think I had 3.5, 4.5 tackles for loss, a sack, a couple pass breakups, and I was defensive player of the week for SoCon. So
there you go.
Right on.
And then I was like,
that was your sophomore year, or your junior year?
My redshirt freshman year.
So I was going to say you only had one career sack based on the UTC stats that I'm seeing here, and that was your junior year.
Is it okay? Maybe it's just tackle for loss.
Okay.
Okay. So
Either way.
Yeah. I mean,
it'd be the 2010 year.
Let
Yeah.
this man live.
Yeah.
Over here
I'm just trying to.
fact-checking him.
No,
He said he
keep
knew
it
all his
straight.
stats. I'm trying to
it
keep him
straight.
straight for him.
No, keep it straight.
Yeah.
It'd been just more tackles for loss.
Yeah.
So yeah, man, did that and was player of the game. And then the next game played really well. We got to Elon, which was, I believe, like the weekend of Halloween. Might have been like the 29th, 28th, something like that.
It was 4 tackles for loss. I see it here.
It is?
Yeah. Against
Okay.
Western Carolina.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that was my first game starting.
Nailed it.
And so we got to the Elon game. And I'd played
Mhm.
several good games. And I was racking up pretty good amount of tackles. And everybody was kind of confused how that was happening. But I don't know. I just felt good moving around and didn't think too much and just went and made some plays. It wasn't like great plays. I just made every play that came to me.
Yeah.
And then we got to the Elon game. They did a toss to me. I was in the boundary, and I was into the field to our sideline over in Chattanooga, about the 40-yard line, driving into our end zone. And I missed a tackle. I get up. The play's already made, and I'm pissed. So I just hit the pile just because. And I'm sure you guys have had stingers if you played sports. I was getting stingers almost all the time, from high school, college, all the time. Didn't bother me. So I got a stinger. So what I do when I get a stinger, I just play the next play with one arm. Put my arm down. It was actually this arm. Put my arm down, play the play. It usually comes back within a play or two. One play, didn't come back. 2 plays didn't come back. Hit my helmet, go over to the sideline. They're like, what's wrong with you? I was like, I got a stinger. My arm's not coming back. It'll be back in a minute. Drive goes by, nothing. A quarter goes by, nothing. Everybody's looking at me like, why is your arm, like, let's go. And I'm like,
What's wrong with you?
I was like, I can't, I'm just telling you, I can't pick my arm up. Like, I'm trying to pick my arm up. So trainers are working with me. They're doing the test, really like, pick your arm up. I'm like, I would pick my arm up. I can't pick the arm up.
No.
I'm strong. I promise you I can pick my arm up. So we go into the locker room. They give me 2 shots in the butt. And then it still doesn't work. And they take my shoulder pads off of me, and I was done for the season at that point. At this point, we had no clue what was wrong with me. We went through CAT scans. We went through MRIs. They did the dye test. They did the nerve test. They did all the different things. And they thought it was spinal stenosis there for a little while just because I was getting so many stingers. But then they ruled that out. And then they just didn't know what it was going to be. And they was like, listen, man, here's what we think you did. We think you stretched your nerve somewhere in the brachial plexus right here. It's like a spider web of nerves. We think you stretched the nerve. It's probably shut down your delts. It was your bicep, my forearm. Like I could grip, but I couldn't hold my grip. So like if I was driving, right? I'm driving, steering. I turn too far, my arm would fall off.
Oh.
If I was doing shampoo, my arm would just fall off. But I could do what I was doing, but I couldn't hold it.
Yeah.
Like so yeah, man. So my arm went away. It went away for probably, I don't know. Well, it was 3 or 4 months. It did not work. It completely atrophied. I lost probably like 5 or 6 pounds. It was I got in like 205. I was 220 going into that. And it was weird because I didn't know if my arm was going to come back. And nobody had an answer for me. And nobody knew what was wrong.
That's the worst. When you have an injury and nobody can pinpoint exactly what's the matter.
And it didn't hurt. So people thought I was faking. Like people thought I was lying. I was like,
do you think I don't want to play?
Do you think I can go 90 days and just never use this arm?
Yeah.
Like I like my arms to fill up my shirts. I don't want this arm to be small. So that happened, and then kind of one day it started coming back. They said my nerve was stretched, and every millimeter or centimeter that it was stretched, I can't remember what it was. They said it's about a week that you'd be out. So it was stretched however long, and it slowly started coming back, and it got to the point where I could walk myself up a wall and kind of hold it and come off and hold everything. And then we started doing rehab and therapy, and I didn't go through spring practice. They put a big neck roll on me like Bobby Boucher going into the next season. And at this point, I'd never drank alcohol. I'd never partied. I was always that guy that was like, I'm going to the pros. Like,
Straight and
narrow. When I got hurt and my injury happened, that's when I started drinking. Well, then I went wild. I'd never done that. So like I had
0 to
18,
60.
Yeah, dude. So I just went crazy. Like I was just drinking all the time. And I was working out. And like I was getting big as possible and drinking as much as possible. Drinking, like I was just partying all the time. And I was like, you know what? I'm not clean cut anymore. Like I used to be shaved every day, clean cut, like almost military-esque. I was like, long hair, beard. So I started growing my beard out, went long hair. And then I used to paint my face up when I was in high school as the Ultimate Warrior, who was a professional wrestler in the early 90s, the first guy to actually really beat Hulk Hogan at WrestleMania. And I did that in high school and then kind of got away from it because I was a wrestling fan, but I didn't know how people would treat wrestling in college. I didn't want to be a nerd. So it came to this point and I was like, listen, dude, I'm just gonna be me going into this game. I can barely move because of stupid neck roll. I'm just gonna get as big as possible. I'm just gonna go out there and be me. So I got up to like 235 pounds that season. Broke the squat record that season at 620 pounds because I couldn't do any bench. I couldn't do a squat. Went out there, had a really good game against Nebraska, and I painted my face up. Well, after the game, they came up to me and they interviewed me, and they asked where the inspiration came for the paint. So I told them the Ultimate Warrior. And then the Ultimate Warrior was coming back through social media this time, YouTube, motivational speaking and stuff. He found it and then found me on Twitter, reached out to me on Twitter, and we got in contact with each other. Yeah, got in contact with each other.
What a kid dream right here.
And I was like, am I getting catfished by the Ultimate Warrior? Because the guy had like, white hair and white beard. And it's not the Ultimate Warrior I remember.
Yeah.
But I was listening to stuff. I was like, no, that's him for sure. And then he asked for my number. And I was like, oh, I'm getting catfished by the Ultimate Warrior for sure.
Yeah.
But you got to give it a shot. I mean, what's the worst case scenario? A prank call. So I gave him my number. And a couple days go by. I get a phone call. I'm sitting in the dorm room with all my boys. And I get a phone call from Scottsdale, Arizona. And I was like, Scottsdale, who do I know from? Ooh, wait a minute. Let's answer this. So I put on speakerphone. I answer the phone. Click. Hello? Gunner, it's the Warrior Man. Ultimate Warrior's on the phone. I go to my dorm room. We start talking. So he's really cool. Ask a bunch of like discovery type questions if you're doing like prospecting and sales or whatever.
Yeah.
And then you could tell he took notes because he called me back the next week and he was like following up from that conversation. And then wanted to know more about my family and what I was doing and how we train and all this stuff. And then kind of became a Mox fan. So he would always reach out to me, usually Thursdays before games, Fridays before games. And then he got to where he was sending us motivational videos to our team that Coach Huseman would play in our pregame. And he'd send me videos to my phone, like in the locker room. I'd show the guys, like he knew, like he was like, when are y'all in the locker room prior to going out? And I'd tell him about the time because we'd have our itinerary. He'd pump a video out, like a motivational, like crazy old school Ultimate Warrior promo right before we'd go out. And dude, it was awesome. But then a bunch of articles were written about like, me and him kind of being connected and stuff. And he asked me one day if I was planning to play professional football. I was like, I've got some neck injuries, and well, I guess I spilled the beans, but I got some neck injuries, and I'm realistic, right? And he goes, okay, what about professional wrestling? I was like, well, there's even less roster spots in that, and I've never even done it, so I'm realistic there too. And he goes, well, Vince loves football players, and I'm, an Ultimate Warrior. So started getting recruited by the WWE the next week by Gerald Briscoe, who was head of scouting as far as like athletes coming into WWE, and then so that was 2 years of that, but. I ended up not getting hurt that season when I wore the neck roll, but I didn't play well. Still got to start every game, but didn't play well. And then we started going.
What do you think it was in that season? Do you think it was the injuries? Was it the neck? Like, why didn't you as well that season?
So, a combination of things. One, I never claimed to be the most gifted player on the team. I earned my spot through my hard work and pretty much my weight room leadership. I firmly believe that. People can say otherwise. I know that's for a fact. Like I won my starting spot out there, mat drills, weight room, sprints, and just being in the right spot, right time. And playing really well my first ever game helped. Like it's hard to take me out after that. But yeah, man. So I just I don't know exactly what it was. I'd say mentally maybe something wrong about what's wrong with me. Is it going to happen again?
Yeah.
The neck roll literally, I mean, I don't know if you can pull up pictures of like us playing Nebraska, but it's the Bobby Boucher neck roll. Like it was the one to where like if I moved my head this way, it touched it. Like I couldn't, the knee bend we were talking about at the beginning that he liked so much, I'd get so low in my stance. Couldn't do that anymore. Now I was in a traditional linebacker stance, hands on my knees because it was so like, awkward.
And you had to wear that thing.
And I had to wear that thing.
Dang.
And I was 235 pounds. So I'd gained 15 pounds and maybe the bulk didn't help that too much either. I felt stronger going up against guys and stuff, but it's not that I played terrible. I just didn't make any game-breaking type plays. I think I had one pick six that year, but other than that, there wasn't any like game-breaking plays. I was just one of the 11 guys on defense, and for the first time, kind of in my life. And you see all these other guys getting the credit and stuff. So going into the next season, I was like, all right, this has got to change. I can't do the stupid neck roll.
Was that it?
That's the neck roll. Yeah. That is the neck roll.
Yeah, that's big.
So then I'm trying to find.
Oh yeah, a little bit in there.
Okay, so now click the one right there where it's just the side of my helmet. You see it?
Talk about this one.
Yes. Okay, now that's a cowboy collar. Okay, so this is my my junior year. So the next year I go to a cowboy collar, so you can see it, and it's a smaller collar, so it allowed me more room.
Which one am I going to next?
No, that was
that was it. That was the
okay.
cowboy
Yeah,
collar.
it's a cowboy
Are you
collar.
trying to get me to show it on the?
Yeah. I was just.
Is it not on the film?
You can see it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you
it's
can
just
see
a little further away.
So, and if you
there you go.
Google a cowboy
perfect.
collar, what it is, it's literally what the old cowboy linebackers used to wear because they were, hurting people so much back in the day.
Every creative player you ever made on Madden had a neck roll.
It had to have neck roll or a cowboy collar, but it allowed you more flexibility and more, the ability to kind of move your neck a little bit more. It got me in my stance. I felt great with this thing on. And I wouldn't have any, shoulder issues really. Like I wouldn't have any stingers or anything. So, but I wore that neck roll going all the way up into the season. Like the first game I went to the cowboy collar. Training staff wasn't real happy about it, but it is what it is.
Yeah.
I made it through a season. I was healthy. First time I made it through. It is what it is. Right. So, go out there and I'm having a really good season. Like Davis Toll, this is when Davis Toll's balling. He's usually playing on the left side of the defensive line. Y'all know who Davis is? Davis Toll got drafted by the Saints in the 5th round in 2014 or 15. But Davis was a 2-time All-Southern Conference Defensive Player of the Year, All-American, absolute stud, one of my best friends and roommate. So Davis was right in front of me, and we would call ourselves, LSD. And it was stupid because we're stupid. But it was stand for left side lockdown, but that should have been LSLD, but it just been LSD because of acid. I mean, that's cool, right?
Of course.
So that was what we'd always kind of do, and we'd shut down the left side. I had a really good season that year, and it kind of spun off of us playing off of each other. And we got to – I think I had a pick 6 that year. I had a couple picks, maybe not a pick 6, but I had a couple picks that year, not a pick 6. And I was having several tackles for loss. I was playing well, really well. It's going to be my best season for sure. And even made me think I can do the next level.
Talking about 2012?
2012.
Were you lighter? Did you go back down in weight?
I went back down. I went down to 220.
Okay, because I was going to ask you if you felt like that slowed you down.
Yep, I went down to 220. Coach Huseman liked it. I liked it. I wasn't. There was no more nickel packages coming back in. I was out there the whole time. I played well. And then we got to I believe it was Western Carolina. We were playing at Western Carolina the week before. We got in trouble because our special teams gave up too many points. So maybe a kickoff return for a touchdown or punt return we got beat because of special teams. And they put our starting defense on special teams. Okay. Now putting
that's tough.
A guy with unknown neck issues and shoulder issues that's stubborn back in the gunner spot on kickoff. But now he's figured out
what spot?
The gunner spot. But now he's figured out the timing on how to hit people with this. Like he's starting to feel himself, so I go out there and it's not the first one. It's probably right before halftime. We go to kickoff. I go down, big hit, arm goes out again. This time it's the other arm. And I'm like, oh, here we go. I should have been wearing the neck roll, but here we are, right? So I go off. They do all the tests on me. They take my shoulder pads off. It's like, the drill. So they're done with me right there. So at this point, we started getting specialist work, like legit doctors, like traveling Atlanta, Nashville, like trying to get some people that know what's going on. And we go to this one guy on Gun Barrel. And the one that's right there looks like an old gym. It's like right there across from Women's East or whatever. But we go over there, walk in, guy does these tests. He comes in with our trainer. We had just changed athletic trainers. One of the trainers there was Todd. Then it switched over to Dave Snyder, who's now at Baylor. So Baylor University. And
big Baylor guy. He went to Baylor.
Yeah,
Baylor,
awesome. Yeah. So he came over and I loved him. And he was in there and he didn't know the previous injuries. He just knew what had happened this year. And he'd never seen me hurt. So doctor comes in and goes, all right, slaps up x-ray on the thing. He goes, so y'all want to tell me about the first time he broke his neck?
Oh, what?
No, that's what we all said. Yeah.
Jeez.
And Todd goes, I'm not Todd, but Dave goes, he looked at me and he goes, I think you got the wrong x-ray. He hasn't broke his neck. And he goes, well, I mean, this is where a hairline healed, and that's in your C5, C6 vertebrae, and that's going to shut down nerves. and that nerve just happened to be the left side of your body. That was probably the first time that happened. He asked, "Did anything shut down?"
Dang.
And I said, "Yeah." He goes,
Yep.
"Okay, so this one's almost in the same spot, but not as bad
On the other side.
on the other side." So it shut down my right arm, but it was starting to come back, and we had realized that. So now I've gotten my head okay. Now
So the left side it's healed.
the left side was
It's
okay.
It's okay. Yeah.
Yeah, the right side had just gotten weak at this point.
Yeah.
It was only out for a couple weeks. Didn't have to note too much. It was just normal. And then I was just sitting on the sideline watching my boys play, and it's frustrating because it doesn't hurt, but I know if I go out there, it's not gonna work because my nerves are all messed up.
Yeah.
So that happens, and then that whole off season, it was different for me. I was kind of zoned out. Like a bunch of my buddies that came in with me that redshirted that weren't playing, which were some of my best friends, they just quit. They graduated. Right? I'm done. Why am I going to play football this last year? I'm not going to play. I'm not going to go through that. I was like, makes sense. And they were like, "Are you going to play?" And I was like, "Well, yeah." And I was like, "Your neck. You're going to keep playing football?" And I was like, "Oh yeah." So then I started thinking about it, and then I actually one day I wrote about a 5-page letter to Coach Huseman, and in this letter, like I'm crying right now. Like I'm not trying to be like but I am like
no, you're emotional about it. Yeah,
and I don't know what to do, and I'm talking to my mom. I hadn't even talked to my dad about this. Like I didn't know what to do. How do I'm not a quitter. How do I tell people I'm quitting? Because that's what I felt like I was doing, even though I was probably doing what was best for me. And I wrote this thing out, all this stuff, and I was like, all right, here we go. I'm done with it.
Email?
No, I'm just gonna drop it off. I'm gonna drop it off underneath.
Handwritten letter.
Yeah, I'm gonna drop it off underneath his desk or underneath his door. I walk up there, I rip it up, put it in the trash can. I was like, all right, no, I'm not a quitter. I can't do it. I don't like confrontation. I can't do this. I'm playing the next year. So I went to the training staff, and they said, you don't got to go through spring practice. You don't got to hit anybody till first game. Like, just help coach all of our guys, get your backup ready if need be, and go out there and just play when you're ready. I was like, sweet deal.
Perfect.
I started conditioning and working out and everything, and I got in the best shape of my life. I was healthy. I wasn't beat up. No stingers in the off season. No nothing. I started going a little bit live, like the last week or two leading up into the game, just doing like some hitting drills. And then we played South Florida. Went down there. Felt good. Had a good game. But I told him, I said, I'm not wearing anything. They was like, what do you mean? I was like, I'm not wearing neck roll. I'm not wearing cowboy collar. If I go out, I go out. And they was like, you can't do that. So this Penn State linebacker from back in the day, who ended up being like a trainer, created this thing called the wedge. And it would go underneath your shoulder pads, but it would wedge in between your neck and your shoulder pads to try to keep that compression from going down to get those stingers.
Yeah.
Was light. Couldn't tell it was there. Didn't bother me or whatever. If it helped, it helped. If it didn't, it didn't. So I put it on. Placebo effect. I thought I was Superman. So they told me this thing, is whatever. So I'm going out there playing, doing well. If you pull it up, I don't know what game exactly it is, but we play. We get about halfway through the season or 3/4 of the way through the season, and we're doing well this year. Like this is like our good season. Like we sucked my first year. This is our team, right? Like this is the first time we won a SoCon championship. But so we go out there and we get to the Citadel game. Now, by the time we get to this game, who cares about my neck? It doesn't bother me. I've got 2 clubs on my hands. I got 2 taped up hands, so I can't grab my hands. I've got 2 braces on my knees. I got I don't know, half sprained MCL and meniscus and other some I'm just banged up, right?
Beat all to hell.
And not to mention my neck that I'm just hadn't even worried about at this point. So playing Citadel, what's Citadel do? Citadel runs a triple option. Well, the one thing we had to do at UTC that most teams don't do ever is we saw the triple option 3 times a year. So for 5 seasons, because even redshirt year I had to prepare for it. For 5 seasons, I prepared for the triple option 3 times a year. Most teams never even see it. So with the triple option as a weak side linebacker, I'm just getting cut, cracked, linemen all over me, pulled on, and I've got a job to do.
Yeah.
Like you can't just go play ball. You got a job to do because if one person messes up in triple option, they're going to bust at 58.
Yeah.
So we're playing Citadel. I'm having a halfway decent game. I'm just trying to make it through. It's like cold. We're playing at Chattanooga. It's like 4th and 1. They're driving 4th quarter, a few seconds left, or at least their last drive, and we're only beating them by less than a score, maybe not even a field goal. 4th and 1, they've got to get this to get in the field goal range. Their field goal kicker's good. So if they get in field goal range, game's over. They're going to milk the clock. We're out of timeouts, and they're going to kick a field goal. They're going to beat us. We're not going to win a SoCon. So they had a pretty good quarterback at the time, and they had 2 plays they like to run on 4th down.
A pretty good quarterback and a triple option team.
A running back.
Okay.
A pretty good running back, that quarterback.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Gotcha.
A guy that was just good enough to maybe complete a pass, but probably not.
Yeah.
So they had 2 plays they kind of like to run, and it was, almost like a belly or like a trap to their fullback, who was really good, and then who's always good on triple option teams. And then he would kind of bootleg out, and he'd be one-on-one with either a corner or a safety or linebacker, depending on what side of the field it is. So I was like, just give it to the fullback. I ain't trying to do this right now. So they fake it to the fullback. Here he comes. It's me and him out on an island, 4th and 1.
Gotta make
He's
the
trying
play.
to get to the sideline. I'm trying to get to the sideline. I don't have hands. He's got the ball. So I just pretty much like dive at him with my helmet. It's one of those hits to where, like, if he would have just fell forward, he gets the first down. But the way I hit him, he just like his shoulder like came this way and he just kind of fell to his back, like, rolled through that way because I didn't wrap up. I just hit him and he just kind of rolled over to his back. 4th and inches, stopped him. We got the win. I was like, oh, thank God. We're done. I'm hurting. Like, I was really hurting at that point.
Yeah.
The next game was Appalachian State in Boone, North Carolina. One of my favorite places to play there in Georgia Southern.
Beautiful up there.
Mm-hmm.
This is the season that is their last year in FCS, and they're going D1. So this is the last time we played App State, and we go out there having a pretty good game. It is the second to last play before halftime. It's like 3rd and goal. They're on the 1-yard line. Back to me, quarterback and gun, fake the zone. Quarterback keeps it, tackle for loss. Right, playbook. That's what it's supposed to be. First time ever I couldn't get helped off couldn't get off the field. Had to be helped up because both arms went out.
Oh no!
Didn't hurt.
Yeah.
Couldn't get my mouthpiece out of my mouth. I was just stuck on the turf. Like, everybody's like hyped up, and they had to like get me up and then take me off the field. They go for it on 4th down. They score. Go into halftime. As I'm walking off the field, Coach Huseman goes, "Thank you. You're done." So that was my senior year. That was the last play I ever had. Tackle for loss at Boone, North Carolina. And then I was supposed to have a WWE tryout that December, which I didn't get approved for. I didn't get cleared for. So they pushed it back to June. I went through spinal decompression treatment where they laid me on a table and did the whole decompression like hydraulically.
Yeah.
And then ice and stem in between that. We did that from December through February. And I believe that healed me. I wish we'd have done that 3 years prior.
Yeah.
It was just enough, because when you do the decompression, you're just allowing blood flow to come in there and actually heal what was being healed.
Yeah.
So pretty much what was happening was from all those hits over the years, I was too inflamed. Everything was too tight.
Getting
Everything
compressed.
was too compressed.
Yeah.
Even in the off season, I'm squatting heavy. And then, I just never get myself a chance to heal. So I did that. Had my first wrestling match in March for Ron Hall, who's the PA announcer for UTC.
Yeah, I know Ron.
His daughter was going through some diabetes problems and she needed an insulin pump. So I was not going to debut before my tryout, but I went ahead and did that to like raise money. We had about 800 people there at my debut shows over here in the Rossville gym. And then from there, I started training at D1 for my debut tryout. Went down there. It was funny because day one, I get down there and they look at my medical records and they go, "Well, you're not cleared." And I was like, well,
that's cold.
Yeah, we couldn't done this before I got here to Orlando. So then they're trying to clear it with my doctor and clear it with the athletic training staff. They had to get 2 signatures on that. They cleared me. I participated the next 2 days. Did well. Didn't get signed. I don't think it's because I didn't try the first day. I just think it was because I was a very green 23-year-old white bearded 6 foot 230-pound guy. There's a bunch of those out in this world that were probably more charismatic than me at the time. And so I started professional wrestling. The next week I had my first match, like singles match. I started my independent career, and that's how we went, man. So that was football in a nutshell. And then the next chapter from that was pro wrestling.
Crazy.
Dang, man.
So a couple broken necks. I was also con as our all freshman Southern Conference as a freshman, and then never had any other like crazy awards other than like a couple player of the weeks. And I think the only like stat I had that kind of stands with UTC today is I'm one of a few guys that have multiple pick sixes.
I was going to say, I have it here. You're one of only 5 mocks with multiple pick sixes, 2 in their career, 5 career interceptions.
Yeah.
What was the longest one you had?
Oh, not too far, like 28 yards, 29 yards, Austin P.
There you go.
my senior year, something like that.
Hey, 20 plus sounds good, you know?
Yeah.
So I had 2 easy pick sixes. So we played Elon that the redshirt sophomore year, and they threw it to me on the 10-yard line. I just ran it in. I don't even know why he threw it to me. And then they get surprised.
You'll take those.
Like I had to catch it to not hit my helmet. And then the next one was Austin P. That was a tip ball. Called it. That was a pretty good play. Made some jukes and stuff. Got in. But the other ones, man, they're just picks and
just easy picks.
Get out.
Take those.
Yeah. Either get out of bounds or get pushed out of bounds. Or try to run somebody over. I was not much of a juker.
Well, I mean, you had to. I mean, if you're gonna get the ball, you gotta lower the
If a
shoulder.
linebacker with a neck roll gets the ball, you better not juke.
Yeah.
You're not allowed to.
Come on, you were an athlete.
Chef.
You had the ATH.
Yeah, man. But so that's what we did, and I was fortunate enough to play for a team that won the Southern Conference my senior year. I was a captain on that team, so
that's pretty special.
And that's elected by our peers. So I go by the moniker the People's Captain. That's a funny story because The Rock is the People's Champ. I'm a huge Rock fan.
Okay.
All right, huge wrestling fan. At this point, everybody was a wrestling fan at UTC on the team. Like we'd get together on Mondays and watch Monday Night Raw, WrestleManias, everything, because everybody was just kind of hanging out with us.
Yeah.
So wrestling was cool. So my junior year, I was supposed to be captain. I was elected captain by my peers, and my grades didn't allow me to be captain. So Coach Huseman boycotted that, and then the guys would just call me the People's Captain. It was like a drunk thing. It was like, well, you're the captain, like you're the People's Captain.
You were elected.
Yeah. Like, what's the Rock's the champ? You're the People's Captain. So that kind of stuck, and that became my whole moniker, and it's kind of how I was known around here, and then it became my wrestling nickname as well, going into my wrestling career. And now I've kind of like parlayed that into logistics as well, as far as like I'm for VP of sales. So now, still People's Captain. Like it's always people first, empathy first. It's always that whole thing. But yeah, man, that's me.
That's the story. Garrett, Chase, you guys have anything? I feel like
really good origin story. Because I mean, it's always one of those things like the injury bug.
Yeah.
And it's especially the neck issues. And like you talked about, you're like, damn, if we could have done a little decompression.
Yeah.
3 years earlier.
Yeah.
What would have changed,
Yeah. But we didn't know it was going to work then. Like they told me like there's like, we don't know. Like this is 50-50. They did a study on me. It's in one of the scientific journals like that goes around like these athletic training programs about my neck.
Wow.
Yeah.
Special.
Yeah, because you're not somebody like you look at Gunner here and you're like, okay, that's a very solid person. That's somebody that squats a lot. And back then, even now, I mean, as much podcasting and stuff, and we follow some similar people, like the knowledge you can get just from watching YouTube is incredible.
And it wasn't like that then.
No, not even close.
Like I bet you could type in right now, like neck stop working, hairline fracture, C5, C6, or like do spinal decompression, idiot. Like that's probably like what people say now. Like it's you can find out the answer to anything.
Yeah. And back then you just didn't have that general knowledge, and training and stuff's so different. I mean, I'm sure you guys, like you look at it now, you're like, dang, why the hell are we squatting 1 rep maxes for
620 some odd pounds
three times a year? You're like, maybe once, like just to have a baseline, but you probably don't even want to go that hard anymore.
Yeah.
But it's just changed so much.
Well, what sucks when you get that high, like when I was squatting 620, like my working sets was with everybody else's max, like that I was working with. They're like, well, dude, why are you doing this? I was like, this is what's on the paper. Like, I accidentally squatted 620 and I got to accidentally do 584. Like, good luck, like,
sorry, spine.
All that hard work. So I'm glad I'm graduating next year. Get out of these squats. But.
It was kind of funny. You said that, and this is sort of on a lighter note. It was golfing this past weekend, and I actually played decently well. I had a birdie and 3 pars, and whenever we play, especially with my girlfriend and her mom, their rule golfing is whenever Sam or I get a par, we got to take a shot or pull a fireball.
Okay.
And I really didn't want to drink. I drank the night before. I really wasn't feeling drinking a lot on the golf course. And she kept giving them to me because I got the birdie, a par and things like, oh my God, I gotta stop playing so well. Jeez, I got to stop getting pars and shit.
That's right.
Yeah.
It hurts you, man.
It does.
Fireball sneak up on you.
It does. It certainly does. But
the ultimate college drink, wasn't it?
That was the drink that got me.
Keystone.
Keystone.
Yeah. SoCo, Southern Comfort. I had a lot of that back in the day in college.
What was the first thing you threw up on? Like, what was the first drink that you got sick on?
I'm going to be honest with you guys. I've only thrown up once from drinking.
Really?
And it was because I fell asleep.
You're not really drinking.
I have never like blacked out.
But you guys,
Definitely like, was it Burnett's vodka from the plastic plastic bottle in high school when we sneaked that in?
If it's glass, it's too high class.
I was not straight. I was not on the straight and narrow. It was like
yeah, you were raging early, weren't you?
Yeah, I wanted to start early in my life so I can have a solid back career. You know, like back half of of what God given me. So
you're a homeowner out in Ottawa now.
Just get rid of it all early so I can focus on the back half.
There you go.
So
oh God, I remember it was Bacardi 151. I don't know what we were doing. Shout out to my family of like 4 generations of alcoholism.
There you go.
Which I was like, I'm not carrying that tradition down, but I got a little bit of gift when it came to like taking shots and stuff.
That's
so I was always the guy that would like, I was too nice, and I'd be like, and the girls would be like, I don't really want to take this shot from this dude. I don't know who this guy is. And I was like, I don't know that guy either, but I'll drink it.
I'll get roofied.
It's probably roofing you.
I was like, I mean, I was like, he ain't gonna roofie me, you know. It's like,
he ain't gonna take advantage of me.
Yeah, I was like, I'm too heavy to carry. It's a whole thing. I'm gonna make noises. Yeah,
So Crown Royal was mine. We were mixing Crown
just
Royal
regular
with Coke. Yeah, just regular Crown Royal with Coke. We drank a lot of it, and I had no clue like how much you're supposed to drink and stuff. So that was a bad night, but I remember it very vividly.
Yeah.
Very vividly.
Yeah, because that hurts that first time.
Oh yeah, it hurts every time, but that first time,
Mm-hmm.
real bad.
Because I didn't really know, because I was not I was never a drinker in high school or anything like that. And then I got to college and I was like, I'll try that stuff out.
Yeah.
And I was also pretty like, I knew when to stop, but that one night it just snuck up on me.
Yeah.
That son of a bitch.
Happens.
Oh yeah.
Happens, man.
Oh yeah.
Not to me, but happens to you guys, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, we're not, we're not all
from the
safe.
South, so it's just a different culture.
That's true. That's true. I was from Connecticut, and my mom, I hated throwing up. Like that was one of my things that I hated doing. And my mom always told me, she's like, when you start drinking, like, take it easy, because if you don't like throwing up, that is going to be a terrible thing for you. And I've always just sort of carried that with me. And the one time that I threw up, it was at a person's house that the first time I ever been to their apartment in New York City. First time I ever been in their apartment. Only time I was ever in their apartment.
Yeah.
I made it to the toilet, but of course, it was the one and only time I ever was at that person's place.
Yeah.
After a birthday party in New York City. Got me.
Never got invited back.
Never got invited back. But these 2 people I used to work with were like, oddly, like I can remember like hooking up that night at that apartment, and it was just sort of it was such an awkward thing. I don't know what was happening.
And there's not a lot of square footage in those apartments.
No, there's certainly not. Certainly not. But so what are you doing now, Gunnar?
Yeah. So,
other than the chat with Gunnar podcast.
Yeah. So June 2014 was a big month. I had my tryout. I started wrestling as soon as I got back, and that same week I started logistics. I met a guy named Johnny Jones. I played ball with his son in high school, so I'd known him from then. And then BJ Coleman, who was our quarterback at the time, got drafted by the Packers. And Nick Davison, who's my best friend, he was working for Lipsy Logistics, and I was doing my D1 training. I was about to fly out to go to Orlando for my tryout, and I was like, hey, man, you want to go eat? I said, yeah, sure, I'll come meet you guys, and we'll go eat. So I went over to the office. They said, hey, just come in. I said, I'm in a tank top, sweaty, just got done working out. I ain't doing all that. I was like, no, you'll be fine. Come on in. So I walk in. First person I see is Johnny Jones. He's the president of the company. I had no clue. I'd been going through interviews with Access America, Enterprise, a couple pharmaceutical companies, trying to get something going. I just graduated in December. I just couldn't get anything going. Everybody had saw these articles that had came out about me having my tryout in June. And literally, man, every main interview would ask me, hey, I see this article. Because, we looked you up. We see this article. It's the first thing that pops up. It was a fresh one, too. Like, it was right there. Like, it was literally called, like, Miller Does Ultimate or something, like going to the WWE. And I was on these news stations for all this stuff. And they said, so if you sign, what would you accept? Like, if you got offered, would you accept? And I said, yeah, for sure. I was like, well, we can't put effort into training you and then
you just leave.
Been able to go.
Yeah.
And because of reading the stuff, they thought I had a pretty good shot. It just seemed like that way. And I was like, okay, well, all right. So I went and sold cars for a little bit amount before. That was like 2 months. I was like, this is absolutely
terrible.
And then I went to Complete Nutrition and started selling supplements out of the mall, but they gave me all my supplements. So they were giving me all my supplements. That was free. So I was living at home. That was free. And I was training at D1. They were sponsoring me. So that was free. So everything was kind of free. I just kind of had to work that network together.
Yeah.
And we did that all the way up and through June. And then logistics happened. Johnny said, hey, man, you want a job? I said, well, what is logistics? He said, you'll be good at it. I said, what is it? He goes, show up next week. He said, if you don't get signed, show up next week. I said, what if I start wrestling and stuff? He goes, if you need to take time off, take time off.
Dang. Can't argue with that.
Can't argue with that. He's like, how much will you? I was like, how much do I get paid? He's like, show up when you get back and we'll do an interview. So okay, showed up, met his VP. He was like, oh yeah, about $30,000.
You didn't get signed with the wrestling?
Didn't get signed with wrestling.
Okay.
No WWE. No,
that's right.
So I was like, I'm gonna do the independent scene, which I'm booking my own stuff, traveling around doing my own things, pretty much practice, and then I was gonna do logistics as plan B.
That's right. I know you talked about that. I thought this might be a different time when you went. Okay, that was that same time. Okay,
like that same week.
Dang.
So I started logistics, started very bottom, started in track and trace, had absolutely zero clue what I was doing, what logistics was. I didn't understand why all these trucks. I was like, oh, that's what these trucks are for. Right?
Yeah.
So I did that, for about a year, like tracking and just kind of learning and just kind of, be honest with you, just keeping my head down and mouth shut and being a cool person to work with, but not doing much work. And, but kind of accidentally learning logistics at the same time, and then the next year I became a broker. Started like selling some of the freight a little bit, talking to the drivers, understanding a little bit more aspect of it. So that's like 2015. And then 2016, I'm brokering, and then we had this guy come in named Todd Royval, who was our tracking manager. We had a tracking department, and I got out of brokering because I developed such a good relationship with him, and he was over the crime suppression unit at the Chattanooga Police Department, and got out of that and came over to this. And he's an older guy, probably closer to 50, but I just loved everything about him. Like rhyming my dad, like hard work ethic, always there, first one there, last one to leave, always got something to do, like that type guy. It's very particular.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, I'm gonna follow this guy. And I was kind of in a place where I needed someone to grab me and say, hey, come do what I'm doing. It's time to get serious. Like, you're 26 or whatever, 25. So I started following him, and he made me his team leader. He based his stuff off like the police force kind of a little bit. So we did that. And then one day I was loving it over there. And he told me, and I was already leading the team, and he was just kind of directing me. And he told me, he said, hey man, what are we doing tonight? And I was like, I'm just run home, go work out, whatever. I don't know. He's like, all right, cool. Well, I'll see you tomorrow. All right. And I was like, all right, cool. So I go home, work out, get in bed. I get a phone call about 10:30 at night from Johnny Jones. He's like, hey man, you sitting down? I was like, Johnny, I'm in bed.
Yeah.
Time to sleep. He's like, okay, buddy. Todd committed suicide.
Oh,
damn. Yeah. And so that was the first time I'd ever dealt with anything like that. So that really messed me up, especially because I'd just gotten so close to him for about a year. And then I had to go in the next day, and they made me the tracking manager, and I had to take over that team. And I had to have that meeting. That was like an impossible even speech to even get through. It wasn't even like a speech. It was just a bunch of mumbled stuff. And then so that was my first role in management, which came with like my first pay raise, and like that kind of gave my next stop. So like Todd, in theory, like got me started, got me right on the right path, and then gave me my spot.
Yeah, literally.
I'll look at it. Yeah. So did that, and then from there I went into procurement, learned that aspect of it, and then I went over into pricing, learned that aspect of it, and then I was starting into sales. The one thing that would happen at Lipsy is every time that a hurricane would hit, we had the FEMA contract for water. So every time a hurricane would hit, we'd have to ship all the water to the sites that got hit by the hurricanes. So they would lock 10, 15 of us in a room pretty much for however long this would take.
Wow.
And so the longest we ever worked was 67 days in a row. And that was when the hurricane hit Houston, then went through and hit Puerto Rico back to back.
Yeah. Was that like 2017?
Yes.
Yeah.
So we were it was the hardest thing they said we'll ever do in logistics. And that was, we were kind of out of like full truck loads. Like, so what we were having to do is we had to not buy a ship, but, lease a ship or whatever, which is hard to do. It was going to be on the East Coast over there, like in North Carolina somewhere. And we were going to send that to Puerto Rico, but we had to fill it with water. It's like 600 orders of water. So what we had to do is we had to find the truck. We had to have the truck go pick up the chassis go pick up the container, and then go get loaded with the water, and then go deliver it there. And we got told like we had a 600 load order that had to be fulfilled in like a couple of days. So it was like miserable, right? And this just kept happening to us. And we had to track that stuff for the entirety of the process, which is Puerto Rico. So, and we sent guys down there and everything, but that was crazy. And we'd always make good money off that. And that was called our like Lipsy Delta Force. It was like our hurricane special units. But you got to learn a lot about logistics. Like that is like prime. That's like getting your master's in logistics. I truly believe that. And so did that. And then I started into sales. And they kept pulling me into different things. Like if a night shift thing came up, it was like we had to manage peak season, USPS, UPS, FedEx, stuff like that. They'd put me on it. I didn't have a girlfriend, didn't have a family. I was partying, working out, and I love nighttime.
Living life.
Well, yeah, because in logistics, you might get there 8 o'clock in the morning and leave at 10 o'clock at night. But I knew if I was working nights, I work a 12-hour shift. So I work a 12-hour shift. Nobody's there in the middle of the night. I'm going to go to work out anytime, hit a workout, and then come back, and I'm good. So that's what I did. I loved it. It was easy to meal prep, got in really good shape doing that stuff. And I loved that schedule. So January came of 2020, and these guys came up to me and they asked me about joining a startup. And I'd been doing this now since 2014. So I've got 6 years of experience, and I was afraid to make a move, but I'd recently met my current fiance, but it wasn't at the time, but my fiance now. And I just felt confident for the first time. Like I was off Adderall. This was after the podcast kind of started. I was off Adderall. I'd been off of it for a year at that point. I didn't do the addiction podcast till I was sober for 1 year of it. That's a stupid way to say sober, it's Adderall, but I mean, it is what it is. Yeah. These guys they stayed on me for about a year, and they finally asked, hey man, do you want to do it? And I was like, okay, so what is it? They're like, well, it's gonna be a lateral move, pretty much same salary, but there's gonna be a chance for commission based off of how good you think you are. And there was only 3 guys there. And
you were feeling yourself at the time. So you're like, I'm feeling pretty good.
I was like, and then I told Tia about it, and I said, what do you think? And she was like, I got us. Go do it. If it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out. So I told Johnny what I was going to do, and I didn't know how he's going to take it. And he goes, dude, love it. It's awesome. I did the same thing when I was moving around. When I was working my way up. These are tough conversations to have. If it doesn't work out, come back home. You got a spot.
That's awesome. What a great dude.
That's
awesome.
a tough thing in logistics too.
Yeah. And that's right, but it doesn't happen.
No.
Like, so I've kept that a really great I still talk to those guys all the time. If I need help, I reach out to them. Like, I still respect all those guys. I just got an opportunity to come over here. My second day on the job at 12 Point Logistics, landed our biggest account.
Woo!
And literally they were doing there you go. They were doing about $1 million. They'd started in 2019. They'd done about $1 million up until February 2020. Wow. Like, so that's the whole year, right? They actually started in October 2018. So almost 16 months or so. They'd done $1 million revenue. They had 3 guys working there. So that next year, from the time I came on to the rest of the year, we did $6.5 million, mainly off my account. The next year, we started putting a team around us. We did $17.5 million last year. Started doing a sales team, cradle to grave, creating pod structure. The past 12 months, we've done a little over 20 million. This year, we'll do probably about 25 million. It's a bunch of it's piggybacked off that account, but now instead of having one primary account and just a bunch of small ones, now we've probably got 3 or 4 primary accounts with a bunch of mid-size accounts, and we're doing a really good job. We got a low overhead, 17 people on staff, and we're out in Saudi Daisy, man, out of a warehouse, just rocking and rolling and knocking that thing out. So that's logistics, and now I'm the VP of sales. So pretty much I'm just leading our sales team, taking that college football work ethic into that, keeping everything processed and structured. And I treat everything like football as far as weightlifting goes, as far as like progressive strength training. So like, I'm like, hey man, how can we do one more thing? Like, I don't want to do 100% of your max today. Let's do 5 sets of 70% of your max. How do we get one more rep? So I'm not a guy that's gonna be like, hey, I need you to make 500 phone calls today. Can we make 20 phone calls today? And then let's report back and debrief them. Can you get 15 more today? Like, just quality over quantity. Until there's no quantity, then you got to have quality. Or quality over quantity until there's no quality, you got to have quantity, right? Yeah. That's my saying. So, yeah, man, that's where we're at. And then Chat with Gunner podcasts every Thursday. I've been doing that now for 2 years. But if you look at 60-Minute Broadway, I've really been doing it for 3. And that's the biggest thing that's helped me with my sales. Talking.
Yeah.
For over
networking
an hour.
and connecting.
But just talking over an hour and hearing yourself talk over an hour every Thursday.
Very good at it.
And then you have to have people come on, and some people aren't natural guests. Like, I'm sure you guys, I don't know if you've had it or not, but like, you have somebody come on and you're like, here's a question, and they go, and here's the answer, and you go, what else? Like,
give me something else.
And then some people, I mean, sometimes I'll go too much and just bring me in or whatever. But I like to really explain everything, because I know that's what I'm looking for when I'm asking the questions. And being able to lead people that can't do that, to get them through an hour-long podcast, is tough. But I've gotten pretty good at it now, and that's helped me with my sales, my discovery questions, my prospecting. Like, it's pretty much just the opening of a podcast that's going to suck. And if I can get through a podcast that's going to suck, I can definitely get through a cold call with somebody I can't even see. So teaching your people that, and teaching them is just next man up. Like, Tom Brady says, like, his favorite ring's the next one. My favorite call is the next one. My favorite customer is the next one. My favorite load is the next one. Like, my favorite everything's the next one. So go get the next one.
Very cool. I like that. It's a great way to look at it.
Especially with the cold calling thing. So in the same way, it's like podcasting has taught me to call this person, do the cold intro, figure it out. Yeah. And it's wonderful, because you do start to navigate.
Hey, you know what a good cold call is? Just try this. What do you do? Like, what do you do?
I'm a life insurance broker, but I did logistics forever.
Okay, so I'll cold call sometimes.
Forever. You're 31.
Hey,
hey, same age.
9 years in logistics is a monster.
That's a long time, man.
Yeah,
it's a long time. So like, I'll call sometimes and just not even like say anything that makes sense, just to get them to like ask me what I just said.
Yeah.
Like I'll just call and be like, "Hey, can I speak to that thing, the technical thing over there, the guys over in that office?" They're like, "Who are you with? Like, what'd you just say?" And I'm like, "I'm sorry, man. My buddy just had the phone." And then I'll start doing my thing, but I'll get their attention. Like that's one way that maybe we'll get people's attention.
Interesting.
Especially if I've called them several times, they're like, nope, bye. Nope, bye. It's like, okay, cool. I'm gonna get you this time.
Yeah.
It's like, hey, I blew my knee out. What'd you do? It's like, never mind. I was talking to my buddy over here. I didn't know you picked up the phone already. Anyways, just go into the sales pitch. Been doing that. Seems to work. It's fun.
It's always good.
We'll do the wrestling. We'll try to like imitate wrestlers, as we call, like Macho Man, Hulk Hogan, stuff like that. So that's always fun.
What's your best impression?
Oh man, I don't have great impressions. I mean, everybody can do the Macho Man. Yeah, like everybody can kind of do the Macho Man. I mean, to do Hulk Hogan, you just got to talk about, hey brother, like it's that type of stuff.
That's easy.
But like some of the guys, they have like good Dusty Rhodes, and they can do the lisp, and they can the American Dream, baby. Like they can do all that stuff.
Dusty Rhodes is not somebody I've thought about in a while.
Yeah. So my buddy Josh, he actually trained me in wrestling. It's funny that we work with each other now, but yeah, he's an old school wrestling fan, so he knows all those old school guys and imitates them and stuff. But it's fun, man. You just try to keep it light and have fun doing it and make some money.
Hey, that's what it's all about. I mean, now I think it's all about the chat pack.
Oh, it's our
I think it's time for the chat pack.
Time.
All right.
Whoops.
So there might be some duds. Just find one that we can.
Yeah, if you pull a dud out, just leave it out. Because I want to try to go through these eventually. If it's not, like I said, if it's not a good one, just throw it away. We're all gonna answer it. Yeah. So don't put it back. Don't put it back. Nope, throw it away.
We didn't do the music with it this time, or now we're gonna divert.
This music?
Yeah, that's our chat app music.
Okay.
All right.
Hang on.
Yeah, that's
no,
good.
no,
That's
it's
good while
fine.
he's searching too.
Yeah,
That's a little
we gotta
feel to
wait
it.
a little bit.
This is the one you said. This is ridiculous.
That's so bad.
Don't pull from the ends because we put them on the ends. Pull from the middle.
Okay.
Pull from the middle.
Pull from the middle, baby.
All right.
Yeah, we're gonna try to consolidate these down.
Okay, here we go.
We got a good one.
Well, good enough.
Okay.
All right. If you could host your own reality TV show, what would be the theme? And how would contestants be eliminated from the show?
Ooh.
Huh.
That's a good one.
Own reality TV
Your
show.
own reality TV show. What would be the theme? How would the contestants be eliminated from the show?
I feel like Garrett would be good at this question.
Yeah, I'm gonna think on it. I think it'd be funny. If we like had I don't know how to be eliminated yet. Let's just come off the top of my head. If we had like because it's the sexuality stuff is kind of like in the news now a little bit more. If we put like a room full of like people on a dating show that are like gay with a straight guy, and his job is to figure out which of the girls are gay versus and try to find like the straight girl
I like that.
to end with.
So one straight dude and a bunch of
Like-
lesbians.
Lesbians and like and maybe a straight girl or two, maybe just like the ones you got to filter out and find. If he doesn't get them,
So he's trying like
So if
every
he-
week he maybe eliminates
he needs
one
to
or
eliminate
two or
one
whatever.
two. If he ends up picking the lesbian, then she wins
Money.
$100,000. If
No, she picks the straight person, right? The straight girl.
well, if he ends up picking the girl who's not straight and doesn't want a relationship,
Oh,
she
I
wins.
see. I see.
She's acted it out
Yes,
enough.
yes.
So the girls are
I
like
get it.
acting.
Girls are acting.
Yeah.
So
Okay,
there's-
gotcha.
So as opposed to like being like The Bachelor, it's like, okay, well, really, you got to figure out
That's tough.
real
That is
love. and-
Very tough.
You do-
Girls are so
Similar.
good at that.
You could do something similar almost with genders. Not to get a little crazy though.
yeah,
that's
You could.
You call something the gender instead of the Bachelor. You have a guy go on there.
Oh,
You've got all different genders out there, and he's got to guess what they are without hurting.
yeah. I mean, there
Oh,
you go.
that's gonna be a hit in California.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's probably the number one show there.
Number one
I think
show in
Gavin
Cali-
Newsom's actually going to be
Yes.
the guy that's going to do that.
That's
Yeah,
just yeah. So that's mine. That's the first thing that just came in my head.
That's,
out of
that's
that.
That
a
is a
good one.
good
I don't know if
one.
I can follow that one up.
Yeah, I don't know.
It's tough.
That is a tough one. I mean, maybe like a game show or something, but I don't know if I could do like a reality TV show. Dang, GT, that was perfect. For
Yeah,
you.
that was really good.
That was solid.
HBO's listening now. I know that. That's right. Come from
All of
me.
a sudden, they just got this new show.
It
It's
just
like,
pops
Dad?
up there.
Yeah.
We need to do another one.
Let's get one more. Yeah.
One more?
Yeah, let's do
Another
another
one.
one. Let's do another one.
All right.
That's a tough one.
Okay, that's not.
Good. Yeah, get rid of them.
Let's see. If you could live someone else's life for 2 weeks, fully experiencing everything they go through internally and externally, whose life would you choose? I've got.
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
You already know.
The Rock.
Yeah.
That's such a good one.
100%.
Yeah.
Such a good
Dwayne
one.
Johnson, The Rock.
Yep.
It's got to be the best thing. Look, he's been on top for 20 years. Not one bad thing said about the guy. It's pretty
That's
good.
incredible.
It's pretty good. And he's one of the top 5 most followed people in the world.
I've got a couple of people that come to my mind right away. And the first one that came to my mind, this would be obvious to you guys. Obviously, Aaron Rodgers. I would love to be in Aaron Rodgers' shoes. I'm a big Packer Aaron Rodgers guy. I never played football at any level, so it would be cool to see what it's like to be a professional football player, a quarterback with that type of talent.
Yeah, one of the best.
Would be insane. But since I was a baseball guy, I think it would be really cool in Jeter's prime to be Jeter for 2 weeks, just to see what it would be like.
I mean, the king of New York.
Yeah.
Dude.
I mean, legitimately.
Not like you said about The Rock. Not one bad thing is said about Derek Jeter.
No. Bunch of good things.
Yeah,
He even loaned his home to Tom Brady.
he did.
That's a good one.
Goats and goats.
Goats and goats. Goats on goats.
Yeah, The Rock was like the first person that came to mind. I'll tell you another one. If you just want to live the good lifestyle, already married, Justin Timberlake, to have that kind of talent, Timberlake in his prime, or even now, it's not a bad gig.
Yeah.
A little acting, a little singing, a little dancing.
Yeah.
Jessica Biel,
Yeah.
ain't a bad life.
No.
There you go.
Yeah.
Could be worse. Could do worse.
Yeah,
GT?
yeah. My mind's just going not to like a celebrity. It's going completely off track to this. How long do I have to be this person?
2 weeks.
2 weeks.
I would pick someone who was homeless. I would pick a guy under a bridge, and I would be just very curious to see the type of willpower, the internal like just drive to make it to the next day, to find food, to make friendship, to see how like the world would look at you with condescension, and be able to internalize that and see how I'd come out at the end and really get an idea from that.
What city do you want to be?
Probably New York, because I heard the average homeless man in New York makes about $20,000 a year.
Gosh.
Just from
Okay.
out. But that would just be my little, like, my mind went just completely different than
That's
that.
cool, though.
Yeah. That's why we love you. You
Yeah.
have this different way
I mean,
of
you
thinking.
can start that whenever you want to around here.
I know. Yeah, I can literally
Yeah, you
just
could.
join it down there. I know that, but it's
Yeah.
just, I don't know. It's
We'll
gonna-
tell Bliss you're going on a 2-week vacation.
That's right.
You'll find me, down with the bus.
Lose
stop.
some weight before you're your wedding.
Yeah.
Dude, that would be such a good YouTube though.
Yeah, it
would be
would.
good.
We
too.
just documented it, like
Like a
from
social
afar.
experiment.
Yeah,
You know?
And then I did the homeless man diet before my wedding
There you
Yeah.
go.
It's a new thing.
in the summer, so it's gonna be
Oh,
very
that's
easy.
sweating
Got to be
right
in the
there?
summer
gosh.
or somewhere cold in the winter.
Yeah.
Your only choices.
If
Yeah.
we're gonna do that,
Ooh.
okay. Don't be in Montana then. I'll just freeze myself to death and
I think
have
it's
a good
terrible
have a
place
good
to
view
be.
to do
Yeah,
it. So
no.
might as well.
That's
There's
a
not
terrible.
many homeless people in Montana, mainly because of grizzly bears.
Yeah.
Mm.
Probably why.
You see me coming out of this whole thing riding a grizzly bears, like boys, I did it. Boys, I did it.
Well, that man said he was going to conquer this whole thing, and he
Broke
sure
the
did.
code.
Sure as shit. He
And
is,
now the best man is a bear.
he's Putin right now, running on that
That's
bear.
right.
All right, fellas. Well, I think this has been fun. It's been a long
Been a good
podcast, but a lot of good information on
Yeah.
Gunner. Got to hear your whole story, man. That was a lot of fun. I appreciate you being here and sharing it with us and the listeners and things like that. And man, a lot of perseverance. And wish more. What was it? Non-compression. What did you do?
Decompression.
Decompression. Yeah, I wish there was decompression in your life a little bit sooner.
Me too, man. I appreciate you guys having me, and everybody go follow these guys and hit me up on the CWG podcast. Chat with Gunner. Appreciate it.
There you go.
Dude, appreciate you, man.
Yeah, dude.
GT, Chase, it's been fun as always. Thanks for you guys being here.
Thank you.
It's always good to see your faces,
Always.
and we'll do it again next time.
We're done before midnight, baby. It's
Yeah, that's a
Yeah.
good day.
That's
That's
a
a
good
good day.
a good
Done
sign.
before midnight. Have a great day, everybody. We'll catch you next time.
Peace.
like, subscribe, 5 stars, all that fun